Aye, Sunday night, the 13th of March. So much for that early night that I was going to get 11:30. I hoped that I'd be asleep by now, but I couldn't drag myself away from part two of an incredible Frank Sinatra documentary, HBO, I think it is. Production, all or nothing at all. I think it is a two-parter. I watched the first part a little bit ago, and watched part two tonight. It's about four hours in total, and I mean it's just a joy. And at the end. I don't know. At the end, I was very emotionally overcome. I felt that I was going to burst into tears. For those of you who don't know, Frank is my all time favourite. No disrespect to Elvis Presley, and I think Elvis is great, and I love a lot of his stuff. I really do. Elvis is right up there for me. But for me, if we're talking about the king. There's only one. It's Frank Sinatra. I love so much music. From Frank Sinatra through Mozart to Led Zeppelin, and in the Frank Sinatra, I can't say in the Frank Sinatra vein. I don't know if I can, because I think Frank is Frank is his own genre, but there's some other great voices out there. I suppose my second favourite, not I suppose, I mean he is. It's Tony Bennett. I mean I absolutely love Tony Bennett. I think Frank Sinatra did say that the greatest singer in the business was Tony Bennett. I mean Frank did the same besides himself, I'm sure. When he said that about Tony, he was probably thinking beside myself. But Tony Bennett is great. Mel Torme, the Velvet Fog, terrific, But Mel, I can't believe I'm criticising Mel Torme, but Mel Torme, Ella Fitzgerald, they didn't. Nobody told a song like Frank did. I've just had the most incredible time with reading about Frank. I mean, recently reading James Kaplan's, monumental work, 1,800-page two-part biography on Frank. Part one, Frank the Voice, or in the UK known as Frank the Making of a Legend. And, part two, Sinatra the Chairman. I mean, I've never read anything like it, and through Twitter I told James Kaplan it just an incredible, detailed piece of work, and I felt as though I'd been dropped into the whole world of Frank Sinatra, and then to watch this incredible HBO production, which I don't know if it's a coincidence, but seemed to break in a similar way between part one and part two. Part one, sort of going from the beginning, from Hoboken, New Jersey, through to 1953, 1954. From here to eternity, 1954, we got the Oscar for that, with and Donna Reed, just absolutely stunning, gorgeous, one of my favourites in 1954, and then part two, as in part two of James Kaplan's work, going right through the latter, from 1934 onwards, through 1971 retirement, which thankfully turned out not to be a retirement, and then October 1974 coming back with that concert. Oh, to have been there, the emotion of the 1971 retirement. I mean, I just one cannot imagine that. For me, would have been incredible to have been there. And 1974 when he came back, I always said that other great concerts. Was it 1981 Central Park, Simon and Garfunkel? Oh, to have been there. and the 1968 comeback stuff with Elvis, those small venues in the round, absolutely incredible. But for me, Frank Sinatra, you know, I wish I'd been born and had been around through that time. Well, not. I don't completely wish I was. It means I would have probably been in my 80s or 90s now. So it would have been a downside to have been around then. But just an incredible piece of work by HBO there, and it's also great. I mean, I take nothing away from James Kaplan's work. As I say, a monumental piece of work, a triumph of writing. But Frank, it's not true. It's a very visual thing, and not just listening to him, but watching him move to the music, the little ripples in his body as he moves, the percussive fingers, the clicks and the little moves that he's feeling it. He's not separate from the music. It's not an orchestra and there and then Frank. Away from the orchestra. Frank is an instrument. Frank's voice is an instrument. Me, very verbose and never normally stuck for words. I am stuck for words when I'm talking about Frank. And that the documentary that I've been watching. I mean, it's great to the Walter Cronkite interview with Frank seems to sort of be running all the way through, and it keeps popping in and out of that, and that's great fun and very illuminating and quite intimate. I mean, we use intimate. The whole world has seen it, but listening to Lauren Bacall and listening to Nelson Riddle and listening to and watching Mia Farrow, who was stunning. I hadn't seen pictures of her younger. It was a funny relationship, although it points out that Mia was looking for a father figure and Frank was sort of going through a middle age so-called crisis, I suppose, as he was approaching 50. But she was stunning, and Ava Gardner, wow! Just to look at her, what a woman. So listening to those voices, telling the story and their involvement, and listening to the Nancys, Nancy Senior, Nancy Junior, listening to Frank Junior, to Frankie, just an incredible experience watching that, and not. And there was stuff in that documentary that, forgive me, James Kaplan, if I'm saying something that's not right, but I mean, some of the stuff that was there in that documentary I was watching tonight, I don't remember it in the book. I mean, it probably was there, so I'm probably making a mistake here, but I didn't realise, just looking at a couple of notes that I scribbled down here, that I didn't realise that, I think it was Mia said this, I think it was Mia that said this in the documentary, that Frank, before he recorded or opened in Las Vegas, he stopped smoking for 6 weeks, no drinking and no smoking, which I didn't know that. Interesting when you look at some of the times that Frank is performing. He's got a cigarette in his hand. That great those great sessions that you can see of Frank just sitting on I think it was a wicker chair, sitting on a wicker chair next to face with Antonio Carlos Tom Jobim, and Tom Jobim on guitar, and Frank was sitting there, I think, with whiskey and some drink. I don't presume it's an alcoholic drink. I presume it's an alcoholic drink. Certainly he's got a cigarette in one finger and he's sitting there, and I hate smoking, hate cigarettes and everything. Frank just looks, terrific there. So it was a bit of a shock to see that. What was the other thing there? Oh, that was great. I don't remember it. I am absolutely taking nothing away from James Kaplan's biography, because it is, as I say, I have to say it was a masterpiece. But to Charlton Heston, a great, apparently Charlton Heston said that I love this, every song by Frank is in essence, I can't remember where this quote came from, but in the HBO documentary, but every song, Charlton Heston said, is in essence a 4-minute movie. That is true. And how right that is. Listening to Frank singing "I'm a Fool to Want You" with the pictures in the background of Ava Gardner. Frank, he wasn't an angel. Loads of character flaws and loads of stuff about Frank that obviously was not great. And but with the singing and the music, absolutely perfect. Whether it's with Nelson Riddle or with Stordo or with Billy May or Gordon Jenkins. And those orchestras, absolutely terrific. You can't really separate, Frank's life from the music because it informed the way that he sang. And I suppose my way was typical of that. When Frank, am I losing light? When Frank, sang my way, there was so much of him in that. Although I don't think he liked that song very much. If I remember rightly from James Cameron's book, he really didn't like that. Everything about the book, everything about the. Here's that rainy day, and just everything, just great stuff. So feeling quite drained by watching that, and as I say, tears at the end of that. I'm not sure why there were tears. I think tears because the documentary brought Frank's life to a close, you sort of felt, well, obviously it was the case that Frank had died. But Frank, it sounds sort of cheesy and whatever, but Frank, it doesn't die, and the legacy keeps him alive. And when I talk about Frank, I talk about him in the present because he is still present. His music and the Great American Songbook and the work of Gershwin and Porter and whatever, it's all, and Sonny Khan and the whole crowd. Brilliant. So anyway, I'm going on and on. I just really enjoyed that. Right, okay, that's it. Now I am going to turn in. I hope you've all had a good weekend, and I will be back with you probably tomorrow night.